History is the greatest story ever told. It generalizes a series of events into a single expression, but we often forget the atomic forces acting upon each other to create such expressions. We see the great men, the miracles, but we forget about the process. History therefore becomes a way to tell stories, but stories can sometimes be a great illusion, and therefore a falsehood. In reading War and Peace, I initially thought it would just be all about the wars, and I'm not wrong, as the title suggested, but it provided a different perspective from the typical accounts of war. I did not expect the many philosophical areas it would discuss, nor can pronounce the hundreds of names of characters. But if you ever want to read War and Peace, the thing to keep in mind is just to go with the flow. You don't need to know much historical events unless you intend to study it in a more academic sense. Just go on and the ideas will present themselves. You might even witness a death told in a single chapter. It started with upper-class people gathering in a place and continues detailing their lives of the rich and powerful for what seems like a year. But on page 57 of my copy, I found something worthy of philosophical discussion. In this world, one has to be cunning and cruel. The Napoleonic Wars, which will become more apparent as the book progresses, had two large figures associated with it: Napoleon Bonaparte and Alexander I. Napoleon, the French military leader and emperor, caused much of the suffering and disorder in Europe through his expansionist policies and numerous wars. Alexander I, the Tsar of Russia, played a crucial part in opposing Napoleon's advances and was instrumental in the eventual defeat of Napoleon's Grand Army during the Russia's campaign of 1812. I'm not going to pretend to know these particular events in history. I am merely a 17-year-old who wanted to read War and Peace because it is a classic. My interest in reading this book is not solely for general knowledge of the wars or literary analysis of Tolstoy's worthy writing. I wanted to see if I could get something out of this book with my current knowledge and experiences. Let's go back to the quote. In this world, one has to be cunning and cruel. I pondered upon this quote in relation to history. The media and normal folk sharing things on the web came to mind. It is not only because gaining instant fame and attention in our era requires a certain deceitfulness and disrespect, but also because the views in which individuals see the past and current events often shines a spotlight to a person or an idea who did a good thing or a bad thing. This creates two extremely opposing sides, with some people on the left, some on the right, and the middle becoming a rarity. The middle resembles a balanced view, which a good historian and messenger of truth must be in. We must therefore aspire to be in the middle. You will see that War and Peace is just an example of this idea of the inexorable processes affecting history, to which Tolstoy will later reflect upon deeper by the end. He criticizes historians' view that the past happened simply because person A or B did this, or because event A caused person A to do this or that. And from the way I understood it, it is only through the will of the many that events that influences events happen. It can be easy in the future to seek a reason for history, so this view promotes a bottom-up approach in studying our present and past. One step beyond that boundary line, which resembles the line dividing the living from the dead, lies uncertainty, suffering, and death. And what is there? Who is there? There beyond that field, that tree, that roof lit up by the sun. No one knows, but one wants to know. You fear and yet long to cross that line, and know that sooner or later it must be crossed and you will have to find out what is there, just as you will inevitably have to learn what lies in the other side of death. But you are strong, healthy, cheerful, and excited, and are surrounded by others such excitedly animated and healthy men. The thing that scares me the most is waking up one day and realizing that I had not lived. I am afraid of knowing that I wasted my life for nothing. The reason why I aspire to be the best version of me in the first place is to try and prevent this from happening. It can be hard to achieve this ideal state of a fulfilled life. I, for one, don't even know what I want to do for X years of my life to earn a living. If we could just live life without worrying about money and success, if we just belong to the gifted ones who don't have to worry about earning a single cent for the rest of their lives, I can only wish for those things. But if I want my life's purpose to include success and fulfillment, I would have to take some actions. In viewing my life, I would have to accept the very opposite of Tolstoy's view. Our lives are an inexorable process that we can only influence through our thoughts and actions. We hold the power no matter how hard or unfortunate our life is. But his view still extends to the idea that only through our actions does life move for better or worse. I cannot just dream, I have to take action. Our life is a constant battle between our own war and peace. For war, we have uncertainty, our everyday life making us feel like the world is always against us. Peace becomes the state we should aspire to, where things feel in order, the state in which we may find happiness. 4 months of my life went into reading this book, a few pages at a time. The process of reaching the end seems impossible, and far from the vantage point of my past self. I felt like stopping this book at some moments, but I continued. If there is a lesson you can take away from this video, it should be this. Actions, no matter how small or incomprehensible in the present moment, will compound in a larger thing with the aid of time. History shows this. The little actions and decisions of the common man culminate into something big when they all agree to something. It might seem like the orders or thinking of a more powerful man makes the world go round, but if we think about it, does his word amount to something if the collective power of people didn't abide by it? History is a chain of preceding events culminating in a collection of events that influences each other. We must therefore see history in the atomic view to understand the underlying processes that made it. Life, on a similar note, is made of little actions and influences culminating in a man of good or bad nature. Whatever aspect of man, it is certain that these aspects are what they are today because they did things in the past that allowed this aspect to be actualized. I've been trying to be the best version of myself for years now. I failed countless times in doing the actions that I planned to be the path to success. In those countless failures, I've learned a bit to avoid next time. Then the process repeats until someday I would just wake up and realize that I have surpassed that best version of myself. Starting this channel is one of those plans to be my best. It would be a good case study 5 to 10 years later on how I improve, not just in my store of knowledge, but in every aspect that goes into producing a single video. Reading, writing, thinking, it would be amazing in the future, but in the present, I just did some actions. History is an inexorable process which a man cannot influence. Life, likewise, is an inexorable process which a miracle cannot influence. It is only through actions that we move life and make history. Our actions in the present will allow the future to be realized according to these actions. The universal experience of ages, showing that children do grow imperceptibly from the cradle of manhood, it seemed impossible that the little creature who lived somewhere under her heart would ever cry, suck her breast, and begin to speak. So now she could not believe that little creature could be the strong, brave man. Take action. Wow, that was wordy.